And we're rolling.
Alrighty. Well, we'll let people filter in, but thank you everyone for coming to, personally, this was one of my most favorite panels to kind of throw together and, you know, really go into the lore of, because these are some of the three roles that kind of helped put me on the digital virtual voiceover map. So I really do appreciate everyone who came out. So before I begin, my name is Kevin Erlin, and I'm a Springfield-based voice actor. Well, right outside of Springfield, really. I live in a town called Feeding Hills, and you know, I've been doing impressions and YouTube videos for the last 10, more than a decade, right, Mike?
Yeah.
Yep. So just for everyone in the crowd, this is my roommate Mike. He's one of my best friends, and he's one of my, if you were at my earlier panel where I was talking about getting started in voice acting and how to truly get into the nitty and gritty of this awesome profession, you need someone who's willing to be in your corner. You need someone who is willing to let you know that this thing you're doing, that for sometimes, at the beginning, not a lot of money, you're doing it for the right reasons, you're doing it for the right, you know, whenever you just need the right thing or a kind thing to say, you have someone in your corner. And I think that's a very, very important thing to start off with, because if the person that you're living with, or if the person, you know, your best friend, and you can't record in front of them, how are you supposed to record in front of an audience? But that's just something I wanted to begin with. So, when it comes to voice matching, who here has done or dabbled in any kind of voice acting before? Got one? Got a couple? Okay. Respect for that. So, voice acting is way more than just doing impressions. It's acting. It's throwing yourself into the performance and building something credible, something authentic and entertaining. So, but when it comes to voice matching, where it's a little more specific, that's where the niche and the skill really becomes something fun. So what is voice matching? It's doing an impression, right? Well, it's a little more, that is it, and it's probably most baseline form, but doing a full-on sound match means you are trying to emulate the character as close as you can to the original performance. So there's a lot of what are called legacy actors. Legacy actors, like characters who originated a performance, like such as Darth Vader. Famous characters that need a fresh kind of up-to-date voice. So I have a very fun video, real quick, just to show the first about 30 seconds or so, to show what voice matching in America looks like, and probably in one of its most famous forms.
You listen to this.
Boy, am I glad to see you.
Is that you?
That's my brother Jim.
Is that really? That's so weird, because we were on the internet, somebody said that, and we got, oh, that just sounds like a load of old rubbish.
No, my brother Jim. They have so many.
Snake in my boot.
Snake in my boot. There are so many computer games and video things, and Jim he works on those all year long. And they said, "You don't want to do this." He said, "Oh, get my brother Jim. You know, he'll do it." So that's my brother Jim.
Would love to go to.
So, whenever, when we were growing up with Woody, Toy Story, all these big videos, all these big films that had television tie-ins, video game tie-ins, where the original voice actor was not available, they got voice actors and different types of actors to fill in for that, whoever that actor might have been. So here in 2018, I had an awesome opportunity to fill in for the role of John Irwin in the famous He-Man role. So He-Man lies in a significantly higher part of my register. And I didn't grow up with He-Man. I didn't really grow up watching his show a lot. So when I was given the chance to audition for this particular character, it was a dream come true. I had no idea that I was reading for one of the most famous characters of the 80s. All they called him was a barbarian warrior. And so I'm like, a barbarian warrior? Like, that's very vague, but then I read the lines, and all of a sudden, by the power of Grayskull! Okay, this is He-Man. I have the power! This is He-Man. So even though it wasn't named particularly, I didn't know necessarily, he was never named He-Man in the audition, but this, once I sort of know what they're reading for, it became very easy because I've been doing impressions for so long. So I kind of, the version of He-Man I played is not the manly man, the guy designed and sell toys he was in the 80s. This version of He-Man in Family Guy is a lot more self-aware. He's allowed to break the fourth wall, and most of his lines were sort of meaty, self-aware catchphrases beyond his famous just, I have the power. He-Man is kind of a meme now, so he was a lot more funny. He-Man is kind of an icon to different groups of people, so different lines sort of acknowledged his current fan base, sort of what the world has sort of changed him into over the years. But by the end of the day, I have two clips to show you guys. Just the original He-Man, I had the power, and then my version as it appears in the game.
Left side instead of right side. Right.
That was the OG right there.
So it's like stuff like
OG
that.
right there.
Keep in mind and look up. Yeah.
And the masters of the power of Grayskull. I have the power!
Yeah.
So is it really bragging that you really are the most powerful man in the universe? So that was just a quick, piece of what I did for the game, and then just to show everyone, that's what the 80s had different sound recording equipment. It was a completely different political landscape, performance-wise. Everything was just sort of freer, but also that meant it was a different kind of acting methodology. But something that I was really, really proud of is once it came out, someone sent me a private message and was like, "You got your first Wikipedia voice acting credit." And I was like, "Wait, what do you mean? Like, show me." And it's like, "Yeah, it's on the official He-Man Wikipedia page." And I swear to God, you can edit Wikipedia. I did not do this. So my first and so far only Wikipedia credit is being a sound alike for He-Man, right above Seth Green and Chris Pratt. So it's a small piece of the pie that I was allowed to perform, but in showbiz, a small piece of the pie is better than no piece of the pie. So this was really a really fun experience.
like there's like no trash cans anywhere. You have to carry.
Yeah, carry it back. Yeah.
So the original He-Man, just to pay tribute to the man who, if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have had the chance to play this little role. John Irwin. So the original He-Man, kind of fun fact, he was born in Massachusetts. So he's a Cambridge. And so what John, he made a big career as a steady work in a Western series, Rawhide. And that sort of shaped his more heroic delivery style, his more over the top performance as He-Man is definitely, if you hear John speak in some of his early work, you can sort of hear as the He-Man delivery becomes more comfortable. He also voiced Prince Adam. Everyone knows though, He-Man and Prince Adam are the same character. Who would have thought? So he plays both those dual identities, but he also plays the role of Beastman and a lot of other background characters because the original Masters of the Universe was designed to sell toys. It was not really the most well animated. It wasn't super expensive. So often they had to, the same actor had to play multiple roles. So he unfortunately passed away December 20th in 2024. But his He-Man and the other actors who have played him since, we all owe our ability to say we played the character in any capacity to this guy right here. So I definitely owe a small part of my career to him, but also I thought it would be interesting for everyone just to see who originated this iconic character. Never had the chance, no. So interestingly enough, John Irwin, while he was one of the most famous TV heroes of all time, he played cowboys, he did a lot of fun stuff. He was very convention shy. He did not name, Alan Oppenheimer, the original voice of Skeletor, he loves coming to conventions, he loves doing the, yeah, Skeletor! He loves doing the Skeletor voice in front of people. He loves kind of living that for as long as, it's such an iconic character. John, on the other hand, was a bit more, he was very reserved. He didn't really understand, the more obsessive fans from the 80s. He didn't really get it. So he was happy to play He-Man whenever, an official line or something official came down the line. But he only ever really played the character in the 80s. A lot of legacy actors will reprise their role until they're told they can no longer do it. John, in particular, only really did it for the original series, but all it takes is the nostalgia. The rest of the performance carries itself. So just to give, while he never showed up, Alan Oppenheimer, the joke is there was enough Skeletor to go around so that we didn't really need, we wanted He-Man, but Skeletor was enough. So my next voice matching gig was for another game called Avengers Academy. So this is a fun mobile game tie-in, and every time there's a new Marvel movie that's released, they do a special movie tie-in. So when Thor Ragnarok first came out, they were casting Korg, they were casting Meek, all the background characters from that film needed licensed tie-ins, they needed voice matches for the apps, the computer games, and so the voice I was told to mimic was another voice actor, Kevin Michael Richardson. So Kevin Michael Richardson is one of probably the most established voice actors in the game today. He's in the Cleveland Show. He has been in Star Wars. I'm about to play a clip of his voice, and you've definitely heard it more than once. For reasons that I never was able to figure out, it was probably just an availability thing. He was not available to do this particular game, so I auditioned and they got me and won the part. And once again, it was it's a younger version of Korg. The characters are in high school, they're in college in this game, so like a lot of the lines I was allowed to read are a lot more relaxed and kind of like a shock a little bit. But you can you go to the next slide, Mike. I'll show you kind of my version, and then we'll play the real version.
Don't play games with me.
So that was my little line right there. And whenever you pick the character.
My name is Korg of Krona.
My name is Optimus Prime.
My name is Korg of Krona, son of Korg, and killer of my brothers. You shall know the truth of who I am.
So that is one of the movie scenes that I was given, or not that particular movie YouTube clip, but they sent me, what my agent sent me was a bunch of clips from the movie Planet Hulk. So Planet Hulk is the story, or is a direct adaptation of the Planet Hulk comic storyline, which Thor Ragnarok adapts some story elements from. So they thought, before Taika Waititi kind of made the character his own, they thought Korg was going to sound like, a big, deep kind of, reserved, regal, like rock guy. My version ended up sounding a lot similar to his. And then the movie came out and Korg sounded nothing like either of us. But it just goes to show voice actors are now doing voice matches to other voice actors, who in turn were doing voice matches to other actors. So acting is just a bunch of, what can you do with the same sound, with the more real life logistical aspects that a lot of, maybe they might have the branding, but maybe they don't have maybe the actor isn't available, they might not be able. Yeah, there's a lot of different interpretations. You can do a lot of different things with one character. So just to give a quick rundown on the original Kevin Michael Richardson. So he was Korg in Planet Hulk. He's been other Marvel characters, but he's been in everything. He's Shredder in the 2012 series. He's Joker in one of the, not the Batman, but the Batman that came, the animated series, the one that came right afterwards. He became, after Mark Hamill, he's kind of revered as like one of the top 3 voice actors to have played the Joker. So he's not just a good thing you want to have in voice acting is range. So he doesn't just have the deep, thundering, power voice. He also can go really over the top. He can go really, really insane when he wants to be. So, if there was ever a time during the casting where he came back and said, I can do it now, I probably would have said, no, I'm not even going to fight it. Like, I respect him very much and his career. So the fact that a casting producer was willing to kind of give me this casting call to read for a character that he originated was actually very humbling. So That's Kevin Michael Richardson. And then I want to tell you, I want to kind of share with you guys my third and final voice match. And it was from the exact same game that I did He-Man for, Family Guy, The Quest for Stuff. And I recorded, this is Thulsa Doom from Conan the Barbarian, played by James Earl Jones. So this version of the Family Guy character, it comes from a game, an expansion called Peter the Barbarian. So Peter makes some kind of a name comment to Lois. Oh, you remember that time when we watched the 80s Barbarian movie? And Lois has no idea what he's talking about because there's a lot of 80s Barbarian movies. So that's where He-Man and all these old 80s movies, they brought them into the world of the game. And so I was sent this monologue because I had done the He-Man impression. They asked me if I could perform a James Earl Jones impression for an audition. And so I want to play the last 30 seconds.
There was a time, boy, when I searched for steel. And steel is power. The strength and power of flesh. What is steel compared to the hand that wields it? Look at the strength of your body, the desire in your heart. I gave you this. Such a waste. Contemplate this on the tree of woe.
And so whenever you pick Lord Doom, because spoilers, the movie came out in the 80s, spoilers, he passes away at the end of the movie. And so what Family Guy did was they gave him like a snake, like a skeleton snake head, but all his lines are ripped directly from the movie. So it became something like, instead of, by the power of Grayskull, all of a sudden I had to do, that is strength, boy. That is power. And so it was more of like because James Earl Jones is a lifelong stutterer. He had a very slight sort of southern accent that he trained into a transatlantic sort of accent for speaking in films. So it was a very, very, beyond just the pitch, James Earl Jones is very difficult to mimic for over a long period of time because his voice is so deep and so powerful. So rest in peace. You know, we all know James Earl Jones as the voice of Darth Vader, the voice of Mufasa, Coming to America, you know, all the voice of CNN. Thulsa Doom is not one of his most well-known. Well, it is well-known, but probably not his most famous. Arnold Schwarzenegger loved having a venerated, kind of respected Shakespearean trained, type actor on set because it grounded the film. Whereas James Earl Jones himself, he was very modest in life. He was just happy, once again, like Darth Vader, he just liked playing villains with absolute power. He loved finding that menace, that subtlety in performance. He was a master at it. So a lifelong stutterer, he was not a speaker by choice. He didn't become an actor until his late 30s. He was, he did big roles and big pieces when he served in the army. He did a lot of grunt jobs, a lot of, jobs that we don't assign a lot of prestige, especially in a country like America that sort of, we thrive on, social media, controversy, what's the next big viral thing. James Earl Jones let the craft speak for itself. He died last year at the age of 91, but the fact that he was the voice of Darth Vader for 47 years, he was the voice of Mufasa for 30 years, he held roles for as long as he could perform. So we're now getting into the technical. How does a person find an impression? How do you do an impression? And in my experience, listening to someone else's impression of the impression you're trying to do is the best way to learn an impression. I know that's the word impression isn't there a lot of times, but honestly, if you say you do content creation, say you're trying to make like a fun little skit video where Morgan Freeman and James Earl Jones have a conversation and you don't want to use AI. You want to, do it the right way. You want to do it the human way. Where does the impression sit? Do you not want to hire, though, a voice actor? Where does it sit in your range? Are you going to do a cadence sound alike? Are you going to try not to hit the timbre of the voice? Are you just going to try to speak in the way that they speak with their different rhythms and lilts? Placement, is it coming from the throat? Is it more raspy? Is it more smoky? Is it coming from the throat? Is it coming from the chest? Way down in the chest? Are you going as low as you can? Is it more of a head voice? Is it more congested? So those are things you want to ask yourself as you're making your impression work and trying to iron it out. Personality. I thought my chord was going to be this, as Kevin Michael Richardson, I thought it was more of like a stoic character. Turns out he was more of he was kind of a jock. So I had to read it a bit more fun. So there's a lot of different ways to get started. But if you do want to do impressions, listening to someone else do one will give you a template to work from. And so we're going to play about 20 seconds of this. This is a voice actor named James Arnold Taylor. He's another voice actor we've probably heard a lot of. And so what he is about to do, he is one of the many modern day voice actors for Fred Flintstone. So this is him recording a promo for a local business who gave the rights to use Fred for one of their advertisements. And this is just him describing the process of getting into the headspace of a classic character voice recreation.
Bill, I can put on that voice. Been listening to Alan Reed and Henry Corden. Again, my Fred Flintstone is a combination of the two.
Alan, of course, was the original voice of Fred. Henry Corden took over for him after he passed away, and was actually the voice of Fred for 30 years. And then Henry helped choose me as the next voice of Fred. There's been other people that do Fred.
So there's a lot of, in the old days when the character was being originated, especially a character like the Flintstones that was on prime time for as long as it was, those actors held the roles for most of their lives, usually until they passed away, or maybe the final couple years of their life when they just didn't sound maybe as good as they were supposed to, or as they did in their peak. So that's where an actor like James Arnold Taylor, who Fred had a very distinct sound in the 60s, he had a more distinct sound in the 70s. So there are different voice actors who aren't just trying to recreate the one voice. They go as niche as trying to find, how did he speak in the 70s versus how he spoke in the 80s. And there's different actors that kind of specialize in those niches for casting directors that like those interpretations maybe a little more. So what a lot of people ask me as we kind of approach the end of the, before, if you have any questions, I'd be happy to take questions, is voice matching in the age of synthetic AI, artificial intelligence, generative content, whatever you want to call it. It's a fair question, and it's one no one really has an answer to right now. A lot of people I know, the biggest and most famous example is actually James Earl Jones right now. So there's a company called Respeech, and what they originally specialized in was people who had voices destroyed, or maybe, in fire damage or some other unfortunate scenario, maybe a human, they lost the ability to speak fully with full capacity. And so they would create artificial voice clones of these people. But as AI and generative content has gotten a little more, accepted into the mainstream, this same company made an extremely convincing voice clone with his estate's permission of James Earl Jones as he sounded at his peak from the 70s and 80s. So now, the voice, every single time you hear Darth Vader speak in a Disney Plus series, that is not a voice actor. That is not a sound-alike. That is a voice clone. And, people fall on two sides of the argument on this. One, it's a character that has long been established in the cultural zeitgeist, in film history. We as a studio demand every right to maintain as much consistency and control over the performance as we see necessary. That's Disney's argument. The ethical argument is this is not a human performance, so the thing you're giving us is synthetic. Two, most acting choices originate from some kind of human spark, even though we're trying to recreate something that's already been done as sound-alikes. We are still trying to honor, at the very least, the human element of the performance, but also, we're all business people. We all know how the economy works. Convenience and cost often outweigh stuff like, character legacy and stuff like character authenticity. So it's a very kind of tough world we're living in right now. A couple of months ago, SAG, the voice acting side of SAG, unfortunately stopped striking. They were striking for the last couple of years, and the two big things actors are focused on right now are compensation. AI bros are notoriously cheap. You are a cost and convenience to them. You're not necessarily a keeper of the performance's legacy, if that's something you believe in. So, a one-time AI gig will probably only pay you around $2 to $3 grand, give or take. That might sound like a lot of money in the moment, which to some people that is a pretty significant amount of money, but in the grand scheme of things, if you look to a website called Gravy for the Brain, if you look to actual union guidelines and recommendations, most one-time to use your voice in perpetuity, those buyouts rank much higher than, it's usually closer to like the 15 to 20K buyout period before you should seriously start talking to someone about wanting to use their voice for the rest of forever. So, unfortunately, compensation was, they did strike and rates for SAG projects did increase, but that does not necessarily mean compensation increases everywhere else. Unfortunately, stuff like consent was not, no compromise was reached on that. So once your project is out into the ether, there is very little reasonable way to protect your voice against getting cloned without your consent. There is a lot of YouTube channels right now built entirely on illegal, synthetically created voice clones. Listen to your favorite anime actor sing your favorite Disney. Listen to Goku sing "Can You Feel the Love Tonight?" I love it's such like these videos exist and it shows that there's a niche for everything, but it's horrifying. is horrifying. And so, you know, I have shared my own AI created, not stuff that I have created, but stuff, you know, stuff that friends show you. Yeah, it's fun to laugh at this stuff in the moment, but this is the stuff we're sacrificing as we sort of let AI, you know, into our lives, like in I think a much faster way than the world ever anticipated. So if you're not tied to a legacy character, you are not given the same protection as you would for an indie game. And so I am so glad that at the top of the funnel, these video game roles, like the thing I did for He-Man, the thing I did for Family Guy, I'm so glad I grew up when I did, and I had the chance to work on this stuff when I did, because I'm pretty sure all these companies now are exploring ways to kind of push the human out and push the convenience in. And you know, I don't want to end it on, you know, the sour AI note, but it's good for people to know what the artists out in Boston, New York, and, you know, LA, you know, these are the things they're all campaigning for. And unfortunately, you know, if the biggest entity can't get, you know, that an actor can afford, if they can't get everything that they ask for, I think it's going to be a very, very interesting next few years. I thank you all for coming to the panel. Is there any questions? Any questions, comments, concerns? I just hope we're not at the day. I see there's been a lot of awesome Disney cosplays here. You know, we got some in the front row. What I am dreading is the first Disney movie where they advertise it proudly, all synthetic voices. That is going to terrify me.
I'm sure it's going to be constant controversy. It's a loss. Oh well, it's just
Well, with Darth Vader, the defense for Darth Vader is that Darth Vader is a cyborg. So if a computer is speaking for Darth Vader, what's the canon? Well, there's nothing wrong with that, right? Well, they did it. They did it in Obi-Wan Kenobi in not a lot of people like were up in arms against it. People kind of just accepted it. So, yes, James Earl Jones, you know, he signed his likeness away, but people did it. He was credited as James Earl Jones, but later credits reattributed it to, we would like to thank the blessings of the James Earl Jones estate for giving us, you know, the rights. But he did agree to it. He did agree to it. Exactly. So basically, you know, if Simba is ever an AI, then I'm done. Then I'm just done. But thank you everyone for coming. If you would like to talk more privately, I'll be down at my booth, and we can talk more and more voice acting. I love it's a thing you can never stop talking about.